Hey everyone, welcome back to the Better Man Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Gary Valdez from New Walk Church in Zephyr Hills, Florida. Thanks for joining, whether you're on our live stream, social media, or here in whichever podcast app you're listening from. Your support's greatly appreciated. I can't wait to get started on our next episode, so let's get right to it. I think we're good to go now on every platform with the Better Man Podcast. And man, if you've been listening to me at all, you've probably learned that one of the reasons I love to come to you live on Fridays is because it is one of the best days of the week for a man to get better. This is top notch. And of course, what would be better than helping us see what is better than wearing the best NHL team's hat on a podcast? You know it, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. They're champions. Pretty much every team in Tampa is a champion. But you know what we got to do? We got to be champions in the way that we live as men. And so it's Friday, and we want to go into the weekend. We're going to roll into the weekend as men better than we ever were before. And I'm going to share with you how we're going to do that together. If you get a chance and you're watching this, whether you watch me live, whether you watch me on an archive, audio, video, whatever it is. Remember, we're on 6 different platforms every time we do a podcast. We are doing Facebook, we do Instagram, we do YouTube, and then we also are doing Spotify, the Apple Store for podcasts, and Google Play for podcasts as well. All kinds of different ways to connect with us. And anytime you hear something that I share that you can relate to, something that has been a part of your life struggle, something you've seen happen in your life as a man, good, bad, ugly, every time you share, it helps us. It helps others. It helps us grow. Anytime you share our podcasts on a platform, comment, like, subscribe, it helps us get the word out. I don't get any money for this. This is just time out of my day because I've always wanted to help men and use the platform that I've been given to help men. But if we just keep it all in and we don't help get the word out, we're not helping other men. So I'm going to challenge you to help me make sure other men know about this recording. Let me tell you what I want to talk about today. I was titling this, Strong from Weak. And let me say this, that one of the great struggles for a man is to admit weakness. All right? And I am not here to record some sort of podcast to deal in weaknesses. Like as men, we want to be strong, and I get it. We're taught from the very beginning of our lives, especially from dads or the world, that we gotta be strong and we gotta be tough and we don't cry and blah, 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 and get over it and stop showing emotions. And so it's hammered into us all the time as men. And what this does in a man's life is it creates a very hidden, fraudulent, faking man. We've talked about faking men before being some of the most problematic men on the planet. What happens to a man as he's growing up and being told to always be tough is he is not connected to his weaknesses. He does not understand his weaknesses. He is not connected to his emotions. He is a disconnected, emotional man, and what on the emotional spectrum, right? What is the worst ends of the spectrum? Hyper emotional, and then frigid, non-emotional, right? A healthy emotional person is right here in the middle. We're in tune with our emotions, but we're not over the top, messy. Same thing is we're not hardened and not in tune with our emotions. So there's a healthy middle ground. Most men are not healthy middle ground. They're frigid, right? Many women who are unhealthy, they're deeply emotional and beyond what would be normal, and men are frigid. There's always exceptions to that, but in general, we're to be in this sort of sweet spot on the spectrum of emotional healthiness. And so men are disconnected from healthy emotions. They're told to be tough, and they don't recognize where they're weak. All right, so let's just say what we discover in healthy understanding of humanity is God wires us to be different as people, as men. All right, I'm not the same as you. You're not the same as me. And I've got strengths that you don't have, and you have strengths that I don't have, which means I have weaknesses that are different, and you have weaknesses as well. And so when a man is not in tune with his weaknesses, with the emotional struggles, with all the things that are there, he can then only be faking or hiding what's actually there, or try to pretend I'm good at everything, try to pretend I don't have any issues, try to pretend I don't have any weaknesses. And that is just a really bad version of a man. And the scriptures tell us that all of us have weaknesses. We all have things in our life that we're not good at. And God has this really amazing way. When we allow Him into our weaknesses, when we invite Him into the parts that we don't have it all together, when we invite Him in to deal with humility instead of pride and making us think that, I have it all together. When we allow Him, He expands our capacity. He expands our ability to understand us personally as men. And if you are going to operate in this world and not invite God into your weaknesses, not admit you have weaknesses, but not invite God into your weaknesses, this is such a messy area. I deal with men all the time who refuse to invite God into weaknesses, who refuse to admit a need for the truth about God in their life. And to deny that is to deny human behavior, to deny science and the way we understand we are wired differently as men. And if you cannot come to terms and see that, hey, we are wired differently, guys, it's rough. So I wrote a few things down. What are the benefits of you and I coming to a man and saying, I have a weakness, God help me. Help me be stronger. I have a weakness, I become stronger. Man, I want to share with you some of those benefits. In the scriptures, it tells us that God purposely chose what the world might consider weak or nonsensical to bring wise men to shame. The things that the world considers weak, God uses to put people who are powerful men to shame so that He can get the glory. God is in the business of taking things that are weak in your life and in my life and bringing them into strengthening with His help. Most men, and it's powerful. So a man sitting here watching this and go, man, I'm not weak. I'm wanting to tune into this podcast. I'm not weak. I don't need no crutch with God. We deal with my weakness. I'll call it a crutch. What you're saying is you do not believe what science, human behaviors tell us. You do not believe that we are all made differently. You think we're all robots and that we're all made the same. Denying the fact that we are made different and that we have weaknesses is denying science and human behavior, denying ultimately the Word of God. And so God comes in and says, hey, I made you different, and let me tell you an advantage of coming to me in that weakness and letting me infiltrate your life of weakness in weak areas and making you stronger. Let me tell you how I can help you with that. One of a benefit of turning to God when we're weak is that we develop a dependence on God. I would rather live a life of dependency on God than not. Like what you say, oh yeah, it's a crutch to be dependent on God. Okay, so what is the alternative? I don't need God. Godlessness. I don't want to live that way. So one of the great benefits of coming to terms with the fact that you are you have weaknesses, not a weak man, but you have weaknesses, is to say that, you know what? That reminds me that because I do have areas that aren't like perfectly designed for greatness in my life. I have some areas that are, some areas that aren't. Like I'll just give you an example for me. I am, if you do a human resource examination of me, what you're going to find is, there's all these behavioral things and studies about who you are, personality profiles. I come out as a pioneer, sort of dreamer guy. Others come out as like in all realms of these wheels that they create, or these profiles. Others might come out as implementers, or or whatever it looks like. So for me, I am strong at dreaming and pioneering. It's one of the reasons God invited me in to start a church, to dream for a community. Other people, are executors. And so for me, I'm not a great executor. I need help executing. So I have people around me that help me execute the God-given dream. If I don't have them around, I can dream all I want. The church isn't going to happen the way it needs to happen because I don't have God-given executors. Executors don't always dream well. In fact, rarely do they. But they come alongside a dreamer and execute, and they become superstars at executing. So I have people around me in this ministry, I have people around me in my life that are executors. Now, you are wired exactly the same. You're not going to be perfect in all areas, and so when you understand that, you say, okay. And I'll talk about how admitting weakness invites people in as well, but it certainly causes me to go, okay, God, I'm going to need your help. Send me people that can help me. Show me how I can work through this in the weaknesses of my life. And God, I need you. And so I want that. Again, the opposite is to be non-dependent on God. When I admit that I've got a weakness, it prevents me from being a prideful man. What is the opposite of a prideful man? A man who has some humility about himself and says, okay, I understand that I don't have it all together, and so I don't need to walk around, with my nose up in the air at people. I have things that I need to deal with, and you and I both have things we need to deal with. Men, you do, I do. And if I say, okay, I have some weaknesses, I stop the ride of pride. It's like the governor on your life. A governor, like they do those governors on engines. Like the engine of my life, when it is out of control and arrogance, it is a problem. When you say as a man you do not have a weakness, you are an arrogant, ungoverned man, and that is playing out in very unhealthy areas of your life for sure. You have unhealthy areas. So then another reason why, and I mentioned this just a second ago, that if I decide that I have some areas of weakness in my life, when I come to an understanding of that, it allows me to depend on people. All right, so what did Jesus say are the two greatest commandments? Love God and love others. And admitting that there are areas of your life that you don't have it all together causes you to have dependence on God, love God, develop your relationship with God, dependence on others, love others. At the end of the day, Jesus said, love God, love others. Love God, love others. And one of the reasons why it's so critical to have loving, healthy relationships in your life is so that when you're dealing in areas of weakness, you can have people around you in your life to help you be better. I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for people who are better at other things in my life. Hey, opposites attract. They do. That's just the reality. And my wife is an incredible opposite. The things that I am weak at, she is strong at. And so it's why we are probably, you might say like a power couple. You can be a power couple with your spouse when you admit your weaknesses and she comes along, becomes a healthy partner, vice versa. That's what makes great partnerships in marriage. It's not just my marriage, though. I mentioned my staff, in the work that I'm in. I need people around me to help me. And so I have that. I hope you do as well. If you're a leader, you can't be a lone ranger, right? You've got to have the people there. And so being a person who admits that I have weaknesses causes me to connect more with people. And then it just overall expands your capacity. When I admit that I have shortcomings in my life, I can minister to people better because now I've infused God, His power, His strength, His Spirit, expanding my ability to help and care for others. How limited am I if I say, I have no weakness, I have no weakness, I have no weakness. Okay, ready, set, go. Well, I'm only going to be able to work in this realm. I mentioned, I'm a dreamer. So in ministry, if all I did was dream, this ministry that I lead is in deep trouble because I can only operate in this lane. when I admit that I am weak, I'm inviting others in, I'm inviting God in. Now I expand very powerfully my ability to minister, to do work, to do life. It expands my ability in ministry, but also in my family relationships. I am weak. God, you are strong. Take me, expand me. I want to tell you that there's very little I've been able to accomplish in the last 20 years of my life, which has been the greatest accomplishments of my life. Healthier marriage, being a father, raising children, doing better in life, and then also expanding in ministry. None of it happened on pride and arrogance. It all happened with God, with infusing God into everything that I was doing. And if you want to do godlessness, you can reach certain levels of your life. Some people, without godlessness can become millionaires. What would they have become with God? And what would they have done with their life with God? You see be a millionaire, but what does that do if you're a selfish, prideful, arrogant person? Godlessness can happen in your life, but it can only take you so far. Godfulness does amazing things. It takes the average person, turns them into extraordinary workers in the kingdom, workers in life and their marriage. So, hey, that's all I have for you today. My thing was to you today, okay, weakness brings strength. Hope you're getting that from our time together. Maybe you have other thoughts about areas where you've invited weakness into your life, admitting weakness and then inviting God to bring strength into your life in different areas, how it's impacted you. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe pride welled up and damaged you in areas, and you want to share that as well. You can do that. I'll pray for you now. God, it's our weekend as men. We got a chance to be around our families, our friends, our relationships. God, help us to be better men. Help us. Maybe today you're just listening to this. Somebody's listening to this, watching this, whatever platform, and they're saying, you know what, God, come into my weakness. God, strengthen me in the areas where I'm weak. You're identifying them and saying, God, help me. And you go on that journey, not just this weekend, but for your life, inviting God in for strength. And God, we are just wanting to be better. Help us, Lord. Help us be better men in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Hey, thanks for listening. And before you go, remember what we're trying to do is reach more men with this great information. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can receive new episodes right when they're released. Hey, you can subscribe right now in the app that you're using to listen to this podcast, or you can head over to my social media channels, which are linked in the episode notes to find more information. Lastly, I've got a quick favor to ask before we go. If you're enjoying the podcast, I hope you'll let me know. Reviews, let each podcast hosting site know that great listeners like you enjoy our show. And that helps us expand our reach in search results, impacting more men than typical. Until next time.